The French Quarter had turned into a storm of masks, music, and firelight, but Julien Dubois saw only the road ahead. Fat Tuesday was ending, and with it, the last safe hour before the Order of the Crescent Moon completed its ritual. In the passenger seat, Tommy Russo clutched the edge of the dashboard, his trumpet case long forgotten, his face drawn tight with fear and regret. Julien kept one hand on the wheel and the other around Celeste's notebook. He had found it in the bootlegger tunnel, along with the map that led to Magnolia's end plantation. The pages smelled of damp earth and ink, and every line seemed to point toward disaster. Celeste had followed the truth too far, and now she was missing. Her abduction had awakened memories Julien had tried to bury for 17 years, memories of his sister Amélie in the same plantation, the same moonlit ruin, the same silence after the screams. Tommy broke the silence first. He admitted the order was not just a rumor in the quarter. He had heard them moving liquor, masks, and people through hidden tunnels beneath the city. He had also heard enough to know that one of their men had taken Celeste alive. Julien did not trust him, not fully, but knowledge was a kind of currency, and tonight it could buy survival. When they reached Magnolia's end, the plantation rose from the fog like a decayed monument. Its white columns were cracked and stained, and the ancient oaks around it hung with moss like funeral veils. Julien killed the engine near a thicket, and the two men moved on foot, guided only by a weak lantern glow and the cold pulse of fear. Near the collapsed stable, Tommy found the hidden grate that opened into the tunnel. The passage was narrow and wet, the stone steps slick beneath their boots. The air carried the smell of rust, blood, and old smoke. At the end of the tunnel, the darkness opened into a cavern carved beneath the plantation. Symbols were scratched into the walls, veves and crescent moons cut deep into the stone. In the center of the chamber sat Celeste, bound to a chair, her cheek bruised, her eyes sharp and defiant even in captivity. Two masked guards stood nearby, cloaks wrapped tight around their bodies, knives ready at their belts. Julien struck first. He slammed one guard into the altar and drove the butt of his revolver into the man's skull. Tommy, driven by guilt and desperation, threw himself at the second guard and locked him in a choking hold until the body went limp. Julien cut Celeste free, and she drew a shuddering breath before her strength returned in a rush. She pointed toward the altar. Black cloth draped its surface, and beneath it lay a ledger stained dark at the edges. Celeste whispered that the ritual would begin there before the moon reached its peak. She had barely finished speaking when footsteps echoed from the tunnel behind them. More members of the order were coming. Julien did not hesitate. He shoved Celeste toward the exit and ordered Tommy to follow. Gunshots cracked in the narrow passage, sparks flashing as bullets struck stone. The three of them ran through the twisting tunnel, using its bends as cover while the shouts behind them grew louder. At the grate, Tommy climbed first, then helped Celeste out, and Julien followed with the ledger and notebook tucked under one arm. They reached the Model T just as the first figures appeared at the tunnel mouth. Julien started the engine and swung the car hard onto the road. Behind them, Magnolia's end receded into fog and shadow, but the threat did not disappear with it. Celeste, breathing hard, opened her notebook and found something she had missed before. Someone inside their circle had marked their movements. The order had not guessed their arrival. They had been guided. Julien felt the old scar on his face burn as if it had been touched by fire. Betrayal had not ended with the past. It had returned wearing a familiar face. Tommy stared out into the darkness and said they were not finished, that the altar had been waiting for more blood. Julien said nothing at first. Then, tightening his grip on the wheel, he looked at Celeste's map, at the cursed road ahead, and at the moon hanging over the bayou like a blade. The ritual was still coming. The city was still celebrating. And somewhere in the noise and lantern light, the order was already preparing its final move.